or
Well,
any
you're
Kansas
raising the
City.
stakes. Well, you raise not just in Kansas City, you're raising the stakes across the board. I get enough grief for just having any criticism of our relationship or what we fantasize about the role of black businesses. You over here saying not only should we have some criticism, you saying they should be held accountable for the health damage that they are causing on the community. That is a whole new level of critique of black entrepreneurialism. Goodness gracious.
Get you a Crip Cola. You remember when Killer Mike said they're gonna kill us anyway?
I remember it very well. He was going to have
anyway.
Crip Cola and remember in that Netflix, because I did a whole thing. I watched it very carefully. Remember the very first thing he did in that episode after talking about the importance of black owned business and how this was going to solve violence and all this other kind of every other problem. The first thing he did was go to the white man venture capitalists for investment into Crip Cola. So it was a perfect display of all the contradictions. But
it was blood. Why you always say Crip Cola and never mention blood soda?
Because I didn't remember the whole thing.
Because you see our background blue, right? We Nipsey blue.
No, I don't put me in that. Don't put me in that.
I'm just now getting that.
Don't no.
Thank you for snitching on Jared Geechee.
Again, there we go. So this is, by the way, thematically speaking, remember, I get blamed for things I don't have any control over or do. So I had, all right, we just gonna leave it out there like that. I love it. It's a theme around here lately. Jared don't have nothing to do with it, but it's his fault. I hear you. Okay. I love it.
That man gonna walk into his school office and meet all
Bang
type of shit.
Table, man, and it'll all go away.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Don't let Diallo drag you. What businesses you got, Jared?
So I looked into One United Bank, which was listed, and Black Enterprise. So I'll start with that. Black Enterprise magazine, I forgot where it was listed where it was ranked in here in terms of its age. I think it was put together by Earl Graves Sr. in 1970, and it has been known to be part of, for those of a certain generation, to be part of that powerful sort of trio of magazines you might find on a lot of black households' coffee tables with Ebony and Jet. And as you see, with Earl Graves Jr., they've moved into the digital era and moved online and included a lot of multimedia. It's a black capitalist promotional project. One that works well with, just to the point I was making a moment ago, the presentation of the solution to the problems of that black people face coming through entrepreneurialism and business, most of which is supported by, meant to funnel money and investment to, or backed by, or requiring white capital investment, as would be the case given the kind of gross inequality that Diallo just mentioned in Kansas City, but that is, I think, reflective basically across the board, more or less, the relationship black people have to the economy. So one thing I did, I looked into this particular, I don't want to say I looked into it, but I noticed that this being the March being the women's, is it History Month or an emphasis? I can't remember. Actually, I don't remember. Is it Women's History Month?
It don't matter, Jared. Don't pretend to care.
Well, I don't really care about any of these phony celebratory things.
Right. Don't pretend to care about women. Just keep going.
No, I care intimate.
They don't need a month.
All right,
what
I
about
walked
Men's
into that.
History
That's
Month?
fine. I walked into that. That's fine. I walked into that. That's fine. That's right. That's right. So, but I did look. I looked up this event that is meant to reflect the power of Black women for Women's History Month, And what I went straight to to make the point I'm trying to get to here, the sponsors page, and you can just see who's supporting this. And what is the emphasis that Black women through business and entrepreneurialism are leaders and powerful and modeling a method that other Black people can follow to reach success. And it's basically and JP Morgan Chase, will come back to that in a minute. But every major white conglomerate, the biggest banks, Goldman Sachs included, are involved with this. And PepsiCo, they have if folks know any of the history of Earl Graves Sr. and Black Enterprise, he had a partnership with Pepsi for a while and I believe took ownership of the distributor not far from me here in Maryland, and then sold it back for a nice profit at some point I want to say in the mid 90s, and then and then as he got older and moved towards retirement and his passing, I think in 2020, his son took over. And of course, Earl Graves, coming out of Morgan State, has the Earl Graves Business School building right next to mine. I literally see it every day. And as I look out my own window, it's right there, producing future generations of Black entrepreneurs. So that's one. And again, I think it's important to note that on this list that's being touted for the longevity of Black business, Black enterprise would of course be up there because it is one of the flagship outlets promoting Black business just in general, and again as a solution to inequality facing Black people. So. And then similarly, in that same vein, I looked into One United Bank, which is on that list as among the oldest Black-owned businesses, and it's listed variously as among the oldest, and then also among, and depending on what you read, it's listed as the biggest Black-owned bank in the country. And I'm just trying to see real quick where it was founded. But I don't see it. When 1968. So, but what I thought I would just remind folks, because it did come up in my buying power work, One United Bank, and I'll just give a quick reminder of how. Now, I couldn't reproduce this in the book due to copyright, so I do like to show people this when just in presentation or discussion like this, that this is how One United Bank attached itself to the legacy of buying power and also Black struggle. Say that, and they teamed up at one point with Black Lives Matter to produce a debit card with Visa that was supposed to take some sort of fractional percentage of money exchanged or deposited or spent to go to help women who needed bail money, Black women who needed bail money, or something to that effect. So there was meant to be some material benefit to it, but again, ultimately, it just allows for the symbolic recapture of Black radicalism while claiming and reproduction of Black capitalism and Black buying power as real and a solution. And then here we have another version with their Visa debit card, One United Bank, with all the African iconography and symbology being deployed, when in reality, and this is what is always meant to be obfuscated by these symbolic misrepresentations, is just the potential of all of this. So as of March 2023, a year ago, 22 Black-owned banks, I believe that's the total left in the country. It's never really increased since the 1970s. you can see the list of these black-owned banks and their total assets, usually measured by deposits. So I'll leave some room for criticism if I have some of that not perfectly right. But you can see One United Bank down here says established in 1982, or this branch, I guess, in Boston, because the bank was listed on the Instagram thing. It started in 68, but it's listed here as having assets of $609 million, which is second to Carver Federal with 724, well, third, I guess, behind another 700 million in Industrial Bank here in Washington, D.C. And people can hear or read about my exchange with the CEO of this bank, B. Doyle Mitchell, on Brother Netfa's radio show some years ago, who completely misunderstands GDP, buying power, all kinds of stuff. But my point is, these are the relative deposits, with the most being about 700 million, 600 million in One United Bank. And then if we look over here at the top 15 largest U.S. banks, with JP Morgan Chase at the top, of course, supporting Black enterprise, this is measured in billions. So 2,000 billion is what is listed here in terms of their deposits as of last year, just in one bank alone. So what is that, 2 trillion? And then down here at the bottom, 12 trillion, almost 13 trillion in total domestic deposits, just in the 15 largest banks. And maybe if we took all of those, when I did the math for my book the first time around, if we did the math, if we took all 150 world majority owned banks, or so-called minority owned banks, meaning Black, Asian, Latin American, indigenous, etc., is about 156 banks with, and I think that the total deposits didn't even match, wouldn't even, I think the way I measured it, they would have been fourth if all the total deposits would not have even made them in the top 3. And I think even lower. I'd have to double check that, or we can all, revisit the work, double check that. But the point is, there's no catching up, and there's a wild imbalance in terms of what these banks have and are capable of doing, even if the banks were organized and politicized to want to do something for the entire collective. They're simply not able to do what we would think they should be able to do in terms of producing the kinds of wealth that would nominally or supposedly close the gaps between Black and white. So